Hi, I'm Clara Rose, and this is Influence Matters, the show where each week I share tips, tricks, tools, hacks, resources, and sometimes even interviews to help savvy influence builders just like you to strategically and intentionally establish, grow, cultivate, build your influence. Because we know that that is how we generate leads organically for our business, ministry, cause, or brand. And that is why we're here today. So welcome to another episode of Influence Matters. Before we start, of course, I want to say thank you to a couple of people. Thank you to our show sponsor, Rosedale Publishing. They specialize in business books for the professional and the entrepreneur, just like you. So if you're in the market to get your first or your next book published, give them a call. And then, of course, I have to say thank you to the fine folks at Tampa Bay Multimedia and WeBeam TV, where we are today, for truly making this show possible. So thank you, thank you. Okay, today I do not have an interview, so that means that I have a viewer question. So let's look at our viewer question of the week. So this question was, I think I'm ready to publish, but I'm feeling overwhelmed by the process. I'm hoping you have some advice for me. Chad. So not technically a question, but Chad is looking for some advice about publishing. So likely he has worked on his manuscript and has it in his hot little hands, and he's like, what now? What do I do next? And so we're going to talk about that today. This is a really confusing place for a lot of people, especially if they're thinking they didn't get any help in the creation process of their book. If you've had a book coach or you've hired a service like I offer that helps you put the pieces together for the book, you've had a lot of this education as you've gone through. Not all of it, mind you, just because a lot of publishers don't do a great job of the education piece. I happen to think that education is super important. It makes it possible for you to make better decisions, and you're the one that matters. Okay, so let's talk about publishing. So publishing matters, or matters of publishing, and what you need to know. That's our topic of today. So, as you prepare your manuscript, there are 3 topics that we need to cover to help you create a quality book and protect your rights as an author. Your interior matters, your exterior matters, and your publishing matters. So those are the pieces that we're going to talk about today. You might think, interior matters, exterior matters, what in the heck is she talking about? I'm going to go through them one at a time and explain it to you. It's actually industry jargon. So we will talk about interior matters, exterior matters, and publishing matters, what those things mean, and what you need to know about them. Okay, so let's get started with interior matters. Now, you might think, okay, that's probably everything inside the book, right? Well, yes, that is the pieces that live inside your book. It consists of everything on the inside. So your front matter, your body matter, and your back matter, and your art program. Now, those are probably some terms you've never heard before either if you're brand new to this. What is front matter? What is back matter? What is interior matter? What the heck's an art program? So let's just break those things down so you know exactly what people are talking about when they say those things. They're industry terms, but you need to know them if you're going to be an author. Okay, so we're going to talk about front matter first. And front matter is things like this: your table of contents, any epigraphs, a preface, a title page, a half title page, a foreword, perhaps acknowledgments, could be an introduction, a second half title page, a list of figures. All of those things, a frontispiece, all of those things are called front matter. They really boil down to all of the pieces that you as the author decide should be in the front of your book. Now, not all pieces go in all books. Not all pieces make sense. Now, everyone should have a table of contents, obviously, right? You want people to know how to navigate through your book in a systematic way, especially if it's not if it's a business book and it's not necessarily designed to be read cover to cover. Some are designed to be thematic, and you can flip through to chapter 5 and learn X, or go to chapter 7 and learn X. Of course, if it's a front to back type of read, people still need a place to go and reference what you're going to be talking about. For instance, when I look at a new book, beyond the cover, which we're going to talk about the importance of that in a minute, beyond the cover, front and back flap, I look at the table of contents, because right there, I'm going to see what kind of content you're truly going to give me inside the book. Based on the titles or subtitles that are found in the table of contents, I'm going to have a pretty good idea of what content you intend to cover in the book. It's going to help me make the decision whether I want to buy your book or not. And then, of course, I'm going to flip through and look at, this is sad to say, but I always look at formatting. Now, that's probably an industry thing for me because I format manuscripts for people. I'm looking at the formatting with that eye. So if the formatting's terrible, I notice it. Not everybody does, and not all of your readers are going to, but some of them are going to. In fact, some of them are going to say, this looks odd. I don't know why, but it looks odd. They may not recognize what the problem is necessarily, but it feels wrong. So here's a good example. Justifying your text. If everything is less justified and the edges on your right of your page are all wobbly and wonky, that looks untidy and unclean. It looks odd. It's not the way a book is formatted. So simply justifying your text really will clean that up for you. That's just a little nugget I dropped in there for free, my friend. Another thing is spelling errors. Now, everyone has spelling errors, right? We all make mistakes. Some of them, the fancy-dancy Grammarly or, spell check, the editor won't catch some of those things. That's why we have editors. That's why we have proofreaders, people who go beyond our work and just see that we haven't made any crazy mistakes. Words that are still words, but used not quite right, spell check isn't always going to catch those. So everyone needs an editor. In fact, I still have an editor when I do something. It's just a good practice. Okay, I'm going to get off my editing soapbox and we can move on. Okay, let's talk about back matter. What is back matter? Back matter is everything that lands behind the core content in your book. So this is probably things like an index or a glossary, appendices or author biography, a bibliography. All of those things, even a letter from your author, all those things live in the back of the book and are super important. And to avoid the legal ramifications, we have to make sure that we're always properly sourcing references and giving proper credit when we quote a body of work or a person. So this isn't an occasion where you can ask for forgiveness later. Some things work that way. This is not one of them. You could be required to make a monetary compensation to the person or even pull your book from circulation. So you don't want to put all of this time and effort and energy into creating something, quote some really awesome people or bodies of work, and then not be able to sell it because you didn't properly source them. Super important. So kind of a little tip for you. Record those things where you found them as you write your book. It's a pain in the keister to go back after the fact and try to remember where you found that quote. Just a little side. There's a little free one for you as well. Okay, so that's back matter, lives behind the core content. Let's move on. Body matter. So body matter, sometimes called core content, is really just the stuff in between. Also includes your art program, which is just your graphics. So technically the cover is part of your art program as well, but we are going to talk about that separately. So the art program inside the content of your book, I'm talking about things like an epigraph or the beginning of each chapter, if you did a cute little icon that went with the chapter title, or one book that I did with a client, we had a page that divided each of the chapters, or his wife was an artist and she did little sketches and we put them in between the chapters of his book. And it was just a nice little touch that just made the book more interesting. And his wife got to put her art out there to the world as well. So it was exciting for her. That is part of the art program. Anything non-text is a part of your art program and is a part of the body matter. Okay, let's move on. All right, I do have a pro tip for you here that I thought was important. If you've not started writing or building your book yet, you might consider a service to help you with this process, such as the Brainstorm and Blueprint course that I offer. It takes you from concept about your book all the way to a completed outline. And then all you have to do is write the chapters. So the only thing you need beyond the writing then becomes an editor. The really important part of having somebody help you build the pieces, it's usually in the industry called a book build. I call it a brainstorm and blueprint because it's super descriptive and to help you get it out of your brain. So we're brainstorming, get it out where we can do something with it, and then we're going to put it into an outline or a blueprint for you to follow as you write. Then writing becomes simple. Oh, I'm writing chapter 1 today. What is it about? Let me look at my map. Let me look at my blueprint. And then you just follow the blueprint and write the pieces. And before you know it, you're going to have a completed manuscript as well. Okay, moving right along. Let's talk about the exterior matters. Now, the exterior matters is everything outside of your book. So it's the elements of your cover design, your front cover, spine cover, and your back cover. Now, it sounds like I'm making more out of it than there really is, but the truth is your cover is super important. So a cover, the picture on the cover is designed to make a promise. It's promising your readers what they're going to find inside the pages. So it's a super important piece to your book. The spine is also super important. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. And the back cover is a great, well, you can see this is my latest book. You can see that I have my picture on here, a little blurb about me, talks about the book, then my co-author, because I wrote this with another lady, the Rosedale Publishing Press Mark, because that's who published it. ISBN and barcode. We're going to talk about that in a minute. We all have seen them, but that's what that's called. An ISBN, the barcode, actually has the ISBN number built into it, and the price is built into it. I'm going to tell you why that's important as well. All right, let's talk about that. Your front cover, your spine, and your back cover, that's the cover in its entirety. The cover is such an important part. It wraps your content and it's a visual representation of what's inside it. It's your promise to the reader about what you're going to discover inside, which I already said that, but I just wanted to reiterate that to you. So let's look at the pieces that go along with your front cover. Okay, on your front cover, you're going to find the elements of your design. They should be readable, in a readable color and a readable font. No things that are so fancy schmancy that you can't read them. The image should be congruent with your message without overwhelming your title. And if you're fortunate enough to have an endorsement, you could add that to your front cover as well. Things like the title, the author name, the artwork, all of those pieces, those are a part of the front cover. All a part of the design. Now, I don't personally do design, although I did the design on this book right here that I published with Debbie. We did that design together, and we actually did it in Canva, which is a wonderful tool that I'm always talking about. And if you don't have it, you should have it for your book. But if this is not your superpower, I highly encourage you to hire somebody. I often refer the work with my authors out to a couple of different people that are really great at making covers. There are other places you can find them as well. 99 Designs, for instance, is a place you can get covers where people actually compete. They're on their own dime competing and saying, oh, I'm going to try this one. They'll throw a cover idea at you. If you like it, then you buy that one. The other people are like so sad you didn't get the job, but then you get an idea of their skill level before you buy. Another way that you can get a cover on the cheap is Fiverr. So it's supposedly get anything for $5, but in truth, I've spent usually $35, $45, $55 on artwork from them. Your $5 gets you super basic stuff. Beyond that, you're gonna pay a little more. They charge by the gig, which is interesting, but it's $5 per gig, and you can say this one's going to cost you 5 gigs. It gives you an idea how much you're going to charge. They're going to charge you for it. Okay, so that's your front cover. Let's talk about the other piece that I think is super important, and this is your spine. So the spine should be simple and easy to read. Remember that your reader is seeing it vertically, right? The text is read from top to bottom, and your press mark is at the bottom of the spine. If you're self-publishing, you can use your own logo if you have one. You're going to find the title, the author name, and the press mark on your spine. That's all you're going to find on your spine because there isn't a whole lot of room for anything else. So when you think about your title and how clear your title is and the font that you use, remember I talked about how important was that the font was easy to read. Even more important that it's easy to read when it's on the spine. You're not even reading it normally, you're reading it top to bottom. So the name of the book, the authors, and then the press mark at the bottom. Just a tiny little logo from the publisher, or if you're going to self-publish, you can create your own press mark if you'd like. Okay, that's spine. Let's look at back cover. Back cover, just like it sounds, is the stuff on the back, right? It's your headline, your summary copy, your short bio, perhaps, if you want, an author picture if you want, and your ISBN and barcode. A relevant headline is at the top of the back cover and should capture the reader's attention, the potential reader's attention. The panel copy is a short summary, a preview, or a teaser, and it works like an endorsement without sounding like an advertisement. A review or an endorsement can be added to help establish expertise for you, of course, and then your author biography and picture if you are not going to put it inside your book. And then the ISBN, which is the International Standard Book Number, and the barcode, which has your price embedded. Some authors will add their website and email address as well. I would caution you beyond the website. I wouldn't necessarily put my email address unless you want the world having that email address. Each book that I do, I tend to have a separate place where I send people if I'm giving out the email address. I don't want a bunch of people spamming me to the email address that I use for work. So something to think about for sure. The back cover copy is as important as the front, maybe even more important because you've captured their attention right up here with a visual, and almost all of them are going to flip it over and look at the back and read what this is about. So for instance, this one, top strategy and mindset for the new entrepreneur. Do you feel stuck in an unfulfilling job? So this is where I'm capturing them. 8 ways to mind your own business. Makes them intrigued. What's that about? Let me find out. This is where they're going to say, oh yeah, this book is for me, or no, this book isn't for me, and move on. Okay, let's move on before we run out of time. I do have another pro tip for you. If you plan to write more than one book, or like a series of books, find an editing or publishing company that will let you use their press mark. Better yet, create your own press mark that's congruent with the brand if you already have one. Okay, I have seen a few people create their own logo, their own press mark for their books, and do it very well. Some people do it poorly. I just want to say one thing about it. Look at how tiny your spine is. Right? Look how little that is. This is a couple 100-page book, right? Over 200 pages. And the spine is so tiny, you can barely see the inkwell. That's how little it is. So if you have a small book, relatively small book, you're not going to get a press mark to look like a press mark unless it's just a graphic, and it's very simple. This is a 3-color graphic, but even a 1-color graphic is a great idea. I love the idea of you having one for your brand if you're going to do a bunch of books. If you're not, I would say reach out to someone like Rosedale Publishing and publish with them. Okay, let's move on. We're almost out of time, but I want to talk about Publishing Matters because this is a super important one. It consists of everything related to producing a finished, published book. Your ISBN, your barcode, and your publishing choices. And this is where a lot of people get stuck and they stumble. They're like, oh my gosh, I have no idea how to make this happen. Do I need an agent? Where do I find a publisher? Am I going to self-publish? And they dive into all of these things and decide, okay, I'm going to self-publish. And then they get in there and can't make heads or tails of what they're doing. And there are some things that if you mess up at this stage, they are not fixable, right? So it's super important to have some guidance, whether you do some online research for guidance or you reach out to a company like Rosedale who can walk you through the process. I'm going to help you with just a couple of those things right now because I think they're important. Okay, publishing. Buy your own ISBN and register your book. If a company offers to give you an ISBN for free, they are registering themselves as the publisher, and they alone own the rights to publish that edition of your book. Yes, as the author, you do retain copyright of the content, but you can only publish it through them. So read the fine print when you work with somebody. This is also true if you're going to self-publish through a on-demand publisher. If they give you a free ISBN, which they all try, they solely own the rights to publish that edition of your book. You cannot take your book and go elsewhere because you found a better deal. Or a traditional publisher reached out to you and said, ooh, we'd love to publish your book. Well, you can't republish that same book. You'd have to modify it and come up with a new version of the book, a new edition. So just something to be careful of. So let's talk about the different kinds of publishing that are available to you. Self-publishing, of course. That's where you literally do all of the work yourself. You do all of the editing. You can still hire an editor, which I highly recommend. But you do all of the back work to get your book ready to publish. You load it. You get the proof copies. You do all of the pieces yourself. 100% self-publish. And I see a lot of books out there that I cringe because they've been just published poorly and it just reflects poorly on them. So get some help if you're not comfortable with that. On demand, that just means that your company doesn't require you to buy a bunch of them and put them in the garage and sell them yourself. An on-demand printer like Amazon, their KDB process is on-demand printing. A wonderful service that many of my customers, I help them use. It's good for them because they get all of their own royalties, right? There's an in-between person for them, so more money goes in their pocket, and that is author-centric, which is always my goal. Better for the author. You can do it yourself. Just make sure that you don't make the mistake of letting them give you an ISBN. Super important. Then, of course, there's vanity publishing. Vanity publishing just means somebody will publish your book, and I've seen this too many times. They'll say, ooh, we want to publish your book. It's going to cost you $10,000. Well, you are paying, and they will publish whatever you want. They don't care what it looks like, what standards they're in. They don't care if it's poorly formatted. They don't care. As long as you pay them, they will publish your book. And what is out there is out there. It's called vanity publishing. The ISBN and barcode is absolutely the most important part. If you're going to do vanity publishing, self-publishing, any of those pieces, that's the most important part. The final kind of publishing I like to talk about before we're run out of time is hybrid publishing, and that is what Rosedale Publishing does. It helps the author to publish in such a way that they don't appear to be a self-published author, but they have all the benefits of being a self-published author. It's hybrid publishing. Okay, we are just about out of time. Quick tip for you really quickly. I think this is our last pro tip of the day, but I don't want you to miss this one. Once you set a price for your book and you create your ISBN's barcode, you cannot change the price. If you do, you will need to buy another barcode and download another ISBN, I should say, and a new barcode will be generated because the price is actually embedded in it. I know I've said that already, but that's super important. I've more than one time helped people buy another ISBN, create a new barcode because they later changed their idea of what the pricing of the book should go for. And there you have it. Interior matters, exterior matters, publishing matters, all the things that you need to know to publish your own book. If you found this helpful, but you would like some more information, I have a resource for you, of course. If you go to my website, clararose.com, and /resources, you will see the Publishing Matters Complete Guide to Publishing. The guide is already available. The book is coming soon. So the physical copy will be available on Amazon and where books are sold soon. But for now, the guide is already available. It's just a digital form. And when you purchase it off of my website, the ebook or the digital guide, you get a free strategy session with me, which so many people have said, oh my gosh, Clara, that was the most valuable piece. The content was awesome, but being able to pick your brain one-on-one, that was gold. So I'm offering it to you as long as you can find that on my page, the guide on my page. Once the book comes out, I may remove the free session because it's time consuming for me and I don't make any money for it. But for now, you can go to clararose.com /resources. You'll see the e-guide there, and then below it you'll see a button that says get the guide, right? So the ebook looking thing, get the guides at the bottom. If you want to be get an alert that the book is ready because you like physical books, you put it in your email address right there and click send. I'll put you on the list and you'll get notification that the physical book is ready for you to purchase. Otherwise, grab yourself a copy of the digital and get a free strategy session with it. Okay, I feel like I've just covered a ton of stuff today. I hope you found value in this. And if you truly, Chad, I'm talking to you, if you truly are ready and your manuscript is ready, get a copy of Publishing Matters and you can make it through this process by yourself. If you become overwhelmed, I am here to help you. Please reach out to me. You can, of course, get your digital copy and get a free strategy session. That might be perfect for you. And I look forward to seeing what you do and put out into the world. I will see you guys next week, same time, same place.